Hi guys, welcome to GCSE revision. So today we're looking at biology and specifically ecology. This is B4 in the OCR Gateway textbook, and in this video we're looking at B4.1.1 and B4.1.2. So for this topic there's some specific vocab that you need to know, and of course that starts with ecosystem, and this is made up of all the living organisms and the physical conditions of the area where the organisms live, the community, which are the organisms within the ecosystem, population, which is the amount of organisms within one of the species in the ecosystem, and the habitat, which is where the organisms live. There are three groups of a community, and this starts with the producers, which create their own food by photosynthesis, which are normally plants or algae, something like that. Then there are the consumers, which are normally animals. They can't create their own food, so they have to eat other animals to gain their energy. Then another type of consumers are the decomposers, which are a special group because they gain energy by feeding on the dead and decaying material of other organisms. Energy transfer between organisms. So this cycle starts with the sun, high up in the sky, transferring energy by light, to the cells of the plant. The energy is held in the chlorophyll of the cell. And this energy is used to make the reaction of photosynthesis take place, so the glucose can be produced for food for the plant. The energy is then kept in the chemical bonds of the glucose. After performing photosynthesis over and over using the energy given by the sun, the biomass of the plant increases. And biomass is the living material present on an organism. So after the biomass has increased, a consumer, so an animal, will come along and eat the plant, and the plant will die. Rip. And then the plant, the grass next to the gravestone, will die too. Rip the grass. Now this animal, which has just eaten the plant, will gain some more biomass, and when the organism respires, the energy will be transferred through the production of ATP. So food chains. They basically describe what an organism eats. First, a food chain starts with a producer, which is normally a plant like grass or algae, as I said previously, and the producer is eaten by the prey organism. And in this case, there's only one prey organism in the chain, only because there are only 3 trophic levels in the whole of the chain. There could be more prey organisms depending on just how many there are in the chain. There could be multiple. And then the prey organism is eaten by the predator organism, which is at the top of the chain and is eaten by no other animal. And so the predator eats the prey organism. The red arrows in this food chain are basically the transfer of the biomass. So it's not what eats what, it's where the biomass goes. So the rabbit will eat the producer, the grass, so the biomass of the grass will go to the rabbit, etc. The fox will eat the rabbit, and the biomass of the rabbit will then go to the fox when it eats it. So food webs, they are basically a better version of food chains because they show more of what happens, because obviously animals don't only eat one thing to get their energy as it shows in a food chain. So here's an example of a food web. As you can see, animals eat more than one animal, and you can compare it with the producer at the bottom with the plants, the corn, the lavenders, mangoes. You can get rid of them and see how it affects different animals throughout. Biotic and abiotic factors. This is B4.1.2. And basically, biotic factors are the living factors which affect an ecosystem. So, for example, plants, organisms, or any type of animal, like the trees, could also affect it as well. And if there's a squirrel could affect it too, because it could eat other animals, potentially, which is decreasing the population, and that is a biotic factor. The abiotic factors, which are the opposite of biotic factors, are the non-living factors. It's quite easy to distinguish apart. Are factors such as temperature or rain. But how do these abiotic factors affect the communities? Firstly, there's light intensity, and obviously for photosynthesis you need light, so if there's less light intensity, there'll be less photosynthesis taking place, so less plants will be able to get food, and possibly more plants will die because they won't have enough food to live on. Next, there's temperature. And obviously temperature is needed for enzymes, so if enzymes have an optimum temperature, they can create more for the plants. So if there's warmer temperatures, then the plants are going to develop more rapidly in this ecosystem. The moisture is also important because obviously water, this will affect the levels of water, and animals and organisms need water to live. Also, water keeps cells turgid in plants, stops them from wilting. And obviously, in photosynthesis, water is one of the reactants. So if we don't have this, we can't create the glucose. And soil pH, this affects the biological activity in the soil. Therefore, if the pH isn't good enough, then not enough minerals will be produced and the animals couldn't eat them, and therefore maybe affecting their eating schedule and maybe their life, possibly. So in this lesson we covered ecosystems and abiotic and biotic factors. I hope you learned something, and I'll see you all in the next video when we move on to the next part. Thank you and goodbye.